June 28th, 2025, Guizhou Province, China. Torrential rains have once again battered southwestern China, submerging entire neighborhoods, displacing tens of thousands, and prompting the government to raise its flood emergency response to the highest level. The city of Rongjiang in Guizhou Province, already reeling from earlier floods this week, was inundated for the second time in just days, as extreme weather patterns continue to wreak havoc across the region. A city underwater. Rongjiang, a riverside city nestled at the confluence of three major waterways and home to approximately 300,000 residents, has become the epicenter of what meteorologists are calling a once-in-50-years flood event. Over a 72-hour period, the city received more than double its average rainfall for the entire month of June. On June 28th, the benchmark hydrological station recorded a peak water level of 253.5 meters, 2 meters above the safety threshold. Earlier in the week, the water level had surged to 256.7 meters, the highest since 1954. Entire districts were submerged, with floodwaters reaching the second floors of buildings in low-lying areas. Rescue teams, including military personnel and local volunteers, worked around the clock to evacuate residents using inflatable boats and helicopters. More than 80,000 people have been forced to flee their homes, many of whom are now sheltering in temporary facilities set up in schools and government buildings. The floods have dealt a severe blow to Rongjiang's economy, which had recently experienced a revival thanks to a grassroots soccer league dubbed the Village Super League. The league had become a viral sensation on Chinese social media, drawing thousands of tourists and injecting new life into the local economy. Tragically, the soccer pitch that symbolized this resurgence now lies under 7 meters of water. Agricultural losses are also mounting. Farmlands across Guizhou and neighboring provinces have been inundated, destroying crops and killing livestock. In response, the central government has announced a sweeping expansion of its compensation policies. For the first time, losses of livestock and poultry that could not be evacuated in time will be eligible for reimbursement. The government will cover 70% of all compensation costs, with local authorities responsible for the remainder. The crisis in Guizhou is not isolated. Over the past 2 days, 13 major rivers across Yunnan, Guangxi, Hainan, and Guizhou have risen above warning levels. The Ministry of Water Resources has warned that the situation could deteriorate further if the rains persist. Meteorological stations in Hubei and Guizhou have reported record-breaking daily precipitation levels for June. China has long relied on a network of 98 designated flood diversion zones to manage excess water during the monsoon season. These areas, often located near rivers and populated by farming communities, are designed to absorb floodwaters and protect downstream cities. However, the increasing frequency and intensity of extreme weather events have forced authorities to use these zones more often, leading to growing social tensions. In 2023, nearly 1 million residents of Hebei province were evacuated when floodwaters were redirected into populated areas to protect Beijing. Scientists and government officials alike are pointing to climate change as a key driver behind the escalating flood crises. Warmer air holds more moisture, leading to heavier and more prolonged rainfall. "We are witnessing the consequences of a changing climate," said Dr. Li Wan, a hydrologist at the China Meteorological Administration. "What used to be considered rare events are now becoming alarmingly frequent." The government has pledged to invest in long-term solutions, including expanding flood diversion capacity, relocating vulnerable populations, and upgrading urban drainage systems. However, critics argue that more needs to be done to address the root causes of climate change and to ensure that compensation reaches those most affected. For many residents of Rongjiang, the floods have upended their lives in unimaginable ways. "I've lived here for 40 years, and I've never seen anything like this," said Zhang Wei, a local shopkeeper whose store was completely submerged. "We lost everything: our home, our business, our future." Volunteers from across the province have poured into the city to assist with relief efforts. Food, Water and medical supplies are being distributed, but logistical challenges remain. Roads have been washed out, and power outages have hampered communication and coordination. The China Meteorological Administration warned that more storms are on the horizon. A second tropical cyclone is forming in the South China Sea, with projections indicating landfall in Hainan and Guangdong within days. Authorities have urged residents to remain vigilant and prepare for further evacuations. Government response and relief efforts. The China National Development and Reform Commission has allocated 100 million yuan, $13.8 million USD, in emergency relief funds for Guizhou and Guangdong. Relief supplies, including bottled water, instant noodles, blankets, and medical kits, have been dispatched via high-speed rail and military convoys. On June 27th, the central government announced a new insurance program covering 70% of damages for residents and farmers in flood-prone areas. "We must build resilience," said Premier Li Chang in a televised address. "This is not a one-time event. We must prepare for a future where such disasters are more common." Despite these efforts, criticism has emerged over the lack of preparedness. Opposition figures and civil society groups have questioned why construction was allowed in floodplains and why early warning systems failed in some areas. "This was a preventable tragedy," said Zhou Min, a former environmental official. "We ignored the signs." Stories of loss and resilience. In Melon Township, where the Lu River rose 4 meters above safety thresholds, residents are beginning the painful process of recovery. "We lost everything," said Lu Fong, a mother of 2. "Our home, our shop, our savings. But we are alive. That's what matters." Volunteers from across China have arrived to assist with cleanup and rebuilding. In Xiajiang town, teams of young people were seen removing silt from homes and distributing food. "We came because we had to," said Zhang Rue, a university student from Chengdu. "This is our country. These are our people." Looking ahead, as the waters slowly recede, the full scale of the disaster is becoming clear. Entire communities have been uprooted, and the road to recovery will be long and arduous. But amid the devastation, stories of courage, solidarity, and resilience shine through. China now faces a stark choice: continue with business as usual or embrace a new paradigm of climate adaptation, disaster preparedness, and sustainable development. The floods of June 27, 2025, may well be remembered not just for their destruction, but for the reckoning they demand. The international community has begun to take notice. Several countries, including Japan, South Korea, and Germany, have offered humanitarian aid and technical assistance. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, has issued a statement expressing solidarity with the people of China and urging global cooperation in addressing climate-related disasters. As the rains continue to fall and the waters slowly recede, China faces a daunting recovery process. The floods of June 2025 will likely be remembered as a turning point, a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities that lie beneath the surface of rapid development and urbanization.